This is a bit of a different type of top 10 list than I usually make, but gold farming is a topic that I wanted to talk about in this style of a video for a while now. Where getting gold is one of the most talked about things in any MMO, and today I want to go over my top 10 favorite gold farms across all of Guild Wars 2. I am not going strictly off of what gives you the most gold per hour. We have a website that we can scroll through for that, which I'll put down in the description. But I want to take into account things like difficulty, how fun it is, the vibes of the farm, and where it is located, whether or not you would still be having fun after doing it for the 10,000th time, and more. So let's get started. In the number 10 spot is RIBA. Right off the bat with this list, this is probably the most popular gold farm in the history of Guild Wars 2, where with how popular it has been and how long it has been in the game, it has cemented itself as one of the most iconic parts of Guild Wars 2. But with that, it also has the problem with how it has been ran so many times. I know a variety of different people who get burnt out from the game, stop enjoying Guild Wars 2, or quit the game altogether because of how many times they have run this farm, which I think is a testament to it. RIBA stands for Red, Indigo, Blue, Amber, and is a farm train that you can find in the Silverwastes, where you basically run around the Silverwastes in a massive circle, tagging a bunch of mobs and events in the order of the 4 bases that correspond with those 4 colors, until you get to the part of the meta where you fight the Vine Wrath. Where you do that, then you run around the map looking for chests to open until the map resets, where you do it again. Looking at fast, you get about 24 gold per hour as you do this train, with each train lasting about 1 hour. It's pretty consistent, pretty solid, and pretty easy. Actually, easy may be an understatement. It's borderline mindless, and it gets you a lot of gold, which is why so many people like it so much. You're just running around in circles a bunch. It's hard to find something less complex than that. Where I think RIBA is a pretty solid and fun farm, but I have definitely done it many times in my life to the point where I only like doing it once every now and then nowadays. But overall, it's a solid farm. And the number 9 spot is auto parking. This is a very broad and vague idea that we can see take shape in many different forms. The idea of auto parking is that you can take a character that you aren't actively playing and you place them somewhere in the world where you can log in once a day to get a reward from where you park them. This could range from the end of a jumping puzzle to a spot where a bunch of resource nodes spawn to a bunch of other locations. And over the years, we have seen different spots rise and fall in popularity. Looking at what is currently popular and profitable, logging out at the Hidden Garden is pretty solid income. However, you have to have completed the Kudzu 3 collection and the Wayfarer's Hinge achievements to be able to harvest all of the items. Some people like to log out at the legendary Matriarch spawn location where they can just log in when it spawns right after reset, but I personally just go there on my main character and take the helicopter up whenever I want to do it. There are a ton of chests in the Biora marches that people like to park their character at, and there are so many other different locations. This is something that is nice to do if you have some alts that you don't think you want to play on, where you can just put them in a spot to get easy loot. But it can become a hassle if you want to use that character for anything because you'll have to make your way back to a location. This is something that I have done a tiny bit of, most notably with the Flax farm under Jaka Itzel, which is still pretty popular, but was super popular when Heart of Thorns originally launched. I think I had like 7 characters parked there, and I would loot all the Flax every day to help upgrade my guild hall. But all in all, a pretty simple idea for a gold farm that is definitely worth considering. In the number 8 spot is Dragonfall. This is another type of gold farm that is pretty similar to RIBA, where there are basically 2 different tiers to this farm that you can do that are increasing in intensity but increasing in gold. The first tier is to just run around the map randomly and do events and whatnot as you progress towards the final meta. As the final meta begins, you go and complete that, then run around the map killing all the bonus champions. Dragonfall as a whole is a pretty fun map, the meta is fun, and it is one of my favorite maps in the game. And if you do all of this, you will make quite a bit of gold. I think overall this is a pretty enjoyable experience, and I definitely come here every now and then. But the second tier is where you're basically doing all of that, but scaled up by 1,000, where Fast has a pretty decent guide for this farm that I'll link down in the description because I can't go over everything in a short time frame. But it basically revolves around a specifically designed route through the map, tagging specific events as quickly and efficiently as possible, where this can be pretty complex for new players to grasp, but if you have an experienced commander, it will always be easier for you. But the complexity definitely pays off. Doing a full Dragonfall run this way, which takes just over 2 hours, will net you around 37 gold per hour. Additionally, the first run of each day will net you more gold, at about 40 gold per hour. So overall, this is just a great farm to get a lot of gold. In the number 7 spot are Fractals of the Mist. This is a high skill but high reward activity that is one of the most popular activities in the game. Fractals are pretty similar to traditional dungeons where you can run through instances, killing bosses, and completing challenges until you get to your final reward, where there are a wide variety of different fractals, and certain fractals are selected each day to give you a daily reward, where on average, completing your daily fractals will net you about 20 gold, and an experienced group can get through them all in about 15 minutes. You can then also do the daily recommended fractals for around an extra 6 gold, but it still takes an additional 15 minutes. Additionally, you can do each of the challenge mode fractals every day, which on average will net you around 10 gold for 30 minutes of your time. So in total, you can spend about an hour doing fractals each day and get around 36 gold from doing them all, which is pretty good. And you can also modify this to your needs or interests. You don't have to do the recommended fractals, or you could do lower level fractals which will net you less, but still a good amount of gold. With all that said, this gold farm is one of the more difficult, time-consuming, and costly ones to get into, where on one hand, getting prepared to do fractals is generally the only bit of vertical progression in the entire game, and most players end up doing it anyways to do any piece of in-game content, but as you approach the highest level of fractals, you will need ascended or legendary gear, where alongside that, you will need to get enough agony infusions in order to participate in the highest level of fractals, which to max that out is around 80 gold right now, on top of the cost for ascended or legendary gear that is needed to hold the infusions. But with both of these, you can progress up fractals, as you can do most tier 1 fractals without any of these, and slowly start building up as you get closer and closer to tier 4. Additionally, when we look at tier 3, tier 4, and challenge mode fractals, they are pretty challenging, where you will need to have a decent understanding of the game and the fractals themselves to progress through them, especially the challenge mode fractals. But fractals are generally considered to be one of the funner parts of Guild Wars 2, and people love doing their daily fractals each day. In the number 6 spot are meta trains. Similar to odd parking, this is another kind of vague answer that has a lot of different ideas in it. When we look at RIBA or Dragonfall, we are doing a single meta event over and over for gold, where when we look at meta trains, we are doing a wide variety of shorter metas in a row, where typically you would only do each of these metas once a day in order to get the bonus daily rewards from them, where there are a ton of different metas in this game. To highlight a few, we got the Defensive Omnitus, where you can make around 22 gold in 20 minutes, Forge with Fire, where you can make around 4 gold in 7 minutes, the Leyline Anomaly, where you can make around 2.5 gold in 3 minutes, the Legendary Matriarch, where you can make 1.5 gold in 2 minutes, and so on and so forth. This is highly modifiable, and you can pick and choose which metas you want to do, where if you look in LFG, you will oftentimes generally around reset find groups doing meta trains that you can join and just follow along with. This is generally pretty easy, fast, and fun. I have done a wide variety of different meta trains in my years playing Guild Wars 2, but my personal favorite meta train is as follows. Starting at reset, I do Torquato, which takes about 13 minutes and nets 5.5 gold. Then I do the Burning Effigy, which takes about 6 minutes and nets 2 gold. Then I do the Legendary Leyline Anomaly, which takes about 2 minutes and nets 1.5 gold. Then I do Chalk Garant, which takes about 15 minutes and nets about 3 gold. Then I do Orc Basin, which takes about 7 minutes and nets 6 gold. Then finally I do Dragonstorm, which takes about 12 minutes and nets around 9 gold. So in total, from Torquato to the end of Dragonstorm, this farm takes about an hour and 15 minutes and nets a total of 27 gold. Where there are definitely better meta trains than this, but I like this one because I get a few minutes of downtime here and there where I can relax or do other things in between. In the number 5 spot is Drizzlewood Coast. This is another meta map that is incredibly popular to do over and over for gold, and is my personal favorite out of all of them. Where in general, I just love Drizzlewood Coast and everything in it. It is a great map with great vibes, but the 2 meta events in this map are phenomenal. They are super engaging, super fun, and definitely super rewarding. Where when you look at the map of Drizzlewood Coast as a whole, there are 2 distinct metas, the southern and northern meta. The south meta feeds directly into the north meta, so you can complete the south meta and then go do the north meta, but there are instances of the map that open where the south is already completed and you can just hop straight into the north one if you prefer. We can see commanders and players opt to do a few different things here, where they will sometimes do south over and over or do both the south and north meta. But for a single run through of this farm, which is doing both metas once or doing the south one twice, you can make 46 gold in 1.5 hours. Where I want to take this moment to explain an aspect of making gold that a lot of new players struggle with, and that is the difference between liquid and material gold. Where liquid gold is the amount of gold in your wallet that you currently have, where a lot of players will look at this and think that this is the total amount of gold that they have, but in reality, you need to take into account all of your material assets. Similar to real life, you have your bank account balance, cash, and whatnot that is worth however much money it is, but most people have assets in a variety of different forms that aren't cash but are still worth money, like a house, a car, that weird bow that has been passed down in your family for generations, or the device you're watching this video on. Each of these are worth a monetary value, and you could sell them to get cash. Going back to Guild Wars 2, you have all the materials in your material storage and potentially in your bank and inventory that aren't directly gold, but you can sell them on the trading post for gold. Where a lot of the gold we have talked about in this video and will continue to talk about is in the form of material gold, where if you don't sell the materials you're getting from all these farms, you will be getting much less gold than what is stated, where there's a balance between having materials for things you need them for or for selling them for gold. But if you are ever short on gold, take a look at your material storage. In the number 4 spot are dungeons. This is a pretty similar idea to Fractals of the Mist, as those are basically an evolution of the traditional dungeons, where we have a total of 8 dungeons in Guild Wars 2, and each one has a total of 3 explorable paths, with the exception of a Raw, which has 4, on top of each of the dungeon story paths, with the exception of a Raw, which no longer has a story mode. Each explorable path has a different route through the dungeon, with different challenges, mobs, and bosses, where across the board, dungeons are incredibly easy to complete and are a lot more approachable for newer players. However, dungeons have a stigma in Guild Wars 2, where a lot of people don't think they are worth your time, which leads to not a lot of people completing them, and I just want to say that this stigma is not based on reality at all, and dungeons are incredibly underrated. Where when you look at a lot of people who are doing dungeons, it tends to be newer players who may not understand anything that is going on. Where I want to clarify, this is completely okay, and please don't be mean to them, but I definitely understand how it can be frustrating, where if you want to avoid that, this can be a great farm to do with friends, where if you have 4 other friends, you can blast through these dungeons, where you can often low man or solo these dungeons as well, except it just slows down your time. Looking at the dungeons as a whole, there are a ton of them, and each of them has a different gold value, but I'll go over my 8 personal favorite ones to do. For completing 8 total dungeon paths rewards a bonus 5 gold and additional dungeon currency which can just add on to your gains. Keep in mind that this is all for the first run of each day, so you can really only do them daily. Sorrow's Embrace Path 1 nets you nearly 4 gold in 3.5 minutes. Sorrow's Embrace Path 3 nets you nearly 4 gold in 6 minutes. Citadel of Flame Path 1 nets you just over 3 gold in 5.5 minutes. Honor of the Waves Path 1 will net you nearly 4 gold in 4 minutes. Caudicus's Manor Path 1 will net just over 4 gold in 4 minutes. Caudicus's Manor Path 3 will net just over 3 gold in 4.5 minutes. Ascalonian Catacombs Path 1 nets just over 4 gold in 7 minutes, and Ascalonian Catacombs Path 3 nets just over 4 gold in 12 minutes, where if you add all these values up, including the bonus 5 gold, it comes out to a grand total of around 35 gold in about 46.5 minutes, which I don't think is half bad. But it is even better if you did the 8 most optimal paths instead of just my favorites. In the number 3 spot is festival farming. This is another vague answer, and this is actually a time-limited activity, where Guild Wars 2 has a total of 6 different festivals that you can participate in throughout the year, where each one lasts 3 weeks and are around about 2 months apart from each other, where each one takes place in a specific time of the year, like how Winter's Day starts in the middle of December and goes into the start of January. But each festival has different activities that you can do for gold, and some are pretty good and they are all pretty fun. There are a bunch of them, so let's just go over the most notable and my favorite. Looking at Shadow of the Mad King, which takes place around October, you have probably the most popular festival farm in the game, which is the Mad King's Labyrinth, where you basically just run around in a circle on this map, following the commander, tagging events, and making around 44 gold per hour. You also got the Ascent to Madness, which is a special festival dungeon where you can get just over 2 gold in 2.5 minutes. Taking a look at Winter's Day, you can do the Bell Choir Ensemble, which nets you around 20 gold per hour, and you have the Winter Wonderland Jumping Puzzle, which nets you around 18 gold per hour. During Festival of the Four Winds around July and August, you can do boss splits for around 17 gold per hour. During Dragon Bash around June and July, you can do Dragon Bash Arena for 14 gold per hour. During Lunar New Year around January and February, you can do the Celestial Challenge for just under 15 gold an hour. And then finally, Super Adventure Festival, my personal favorite festival in the game that a lot of people don't think is super rewarding, but it actually is. Where making gold in this festival is a lot more complex than the others, but basically revolves around getting Bauble Bubbles to spend at the weekly sales vendor. You can also be lucky and get some super rare drops during this festival that you can sell for a good amount of gold. Where anecdotally speaking, and not backed by any statistical proof, I do each zone in Super Adventure Box and the daily every single day, which takes me about 45 minutes, which is a grand total of just under 16 hours spent in the box doing just my daily rotation for each year. And each year, I make anywhere from 250 to 500 gold per festival, which equates to around 15.5 to 31 gold per hour, with Super Adventure Box being one of my favorite activities in all of gaming. Making that much gold while doing it makes this a no-brainer farm for me, where all the festival activities are super fun and they can net you quite a bit of gold as you do them. In the number 2 spot is fishing. I think this is a farm that was super popular as End of Dragons released, but died off in popularity as the years have passed, but still nets you quite a bit of gold. Where the biggest red flag for this farm is how it is fishing. Where I am someone who loves fishing in Guild Wars 2, so this farm is a ton of fun for me, but if you are someone who doesn't love fishing, this farm is obviously going to be a lot worse for you. Where fishing farms relies a lot on the various fishing mechanics, where fishing in certain areas with certain baits during certain times of the day is going to net you different amounts of gold compared to other areas, baits, and times. Additionally, this farm benefits a lot by having increased fishing power to make everything easier, so this is a farm that can ramp up as you progress, or you can get fishing power from someone who has already been fishing, where there are specific paths that you can take in each map with specific baits that I'll let you explore on your own, and I'll just go over the top ones. Domain of Kurna during the day with scorpion bait can net you around 55 gold an hour, which makes it the best fishing farm in the game from a gold standpoint. However, I oftentimes see more people doing the Bay of Elon during the day with scorpion bait, which can net you around 40 gold an hour. You can also do Mount Maelstrom benthic kelp beds during the day with sardine bait for around 29.5 gold an hour, or Frostgorge Sound during the day with ram's horn snail bait for around 31.5 gold an hour, or Straits of Devastation straight to Sacrilege at night with sardine bait for 34.5 gold an hour, or the Crystal Oasis Bay of Elon during the night with the scorpion bait for about 20 gold per hour, which is a good one to do with the daytime version of this farm, which lets you stay in the spot for a long time. But now for the number 1 spot, for my favorite gold farm in the game, and well, it's just the idea of combining all of these, understanding a daily routine, and having a passive income, where basically it's not really going for gold and it's kind of just playing the game a lot. Where I am someone who does not specifically go for gold, but I still have a pretty decent stream of gold coming into my wallets because I just enjoy playing the game. Pretty much every activity in this game will net you gold, and over time it just accumulates. But if you also understand each of the farms that I've talked about on this list and how you get gold from them, you can just generate a lot of additional gold by playing in each of these activities. Maybe you have a daily routine where you do your dailies and get some gold from the Wizard's Vault. Maybe you have a couple of characters parked in areas you log into when you remember, which generates some gold. Maybe you're in the mood for fractals, so you do your dailies and get gold that way. You can continue that philosophy with every area of the game. In the mood for dungeons, do some dungeons. Want to do a meta train? Do that. Take a look at what you enjoy doing in Guild Wars 2 and look at how you can make gold by doing that. Do you enjoy doing just PvP and you want a lot of gold? Take a look at seeing how you can make gold by doing PvP, where completing the Thunder Head Peaks reward track will net you just under 27 gold per completion. The famous saying is time is money, where every single second spent playing this game is a second spent playing this game, where you can spend that time hanging out on Lion's Arch, chatting with friends, or doing RIBA over and over until you remember that you haven't stood up in 5 hours. Obviously, if you need a lot of gold and you want it fast, you will want to specifically look at the other gold farms I've talked about and the ones that are not on this list. But for me, unless I am specifically going for a legendary or another high value item, I generate more than enough gold for what I typically need, as in buying some special skins here and there, or having gold to unlock new things, all just from playing the game naturally. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed. These are my favorite gold farms in the entirety of Guild Wars 2. This obviously covers a lot of areas of Guild Wars 2, some of which certain people will love, while others certain people will hate. Take into consideration what you enjoy doing while playing Guild Wars 2, and take a look at how you can make gold that way. This is a bit of a different video compared to my normal videos, but if you want to watch another guide, check out my recent Tangle Depths navigation guide, or if you enjoyed this style of video, take a look at my top 10 video last week where we talked about the best frogs in Guild Wars 2. I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.